Welcome back to the Supply Us podcast, powered by Ops Design. I'm Abby, here with Steve. Today, we're talking about a simple idea a lot of facilities still get wrong. Your building is probably designed for an ideal workforce that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. When you design for that ideal worker, everything looks great in a spreadsheet. Then real people show up on day one, and the plan starts to fall apart. The labor market most buildings were designed for assumed stable headcount, long tenure, and predictable skills. That world is gone.
Today, you're dealing with turnover, a mix of full-time, temp, and seasonal labor, people moving between roles, and absenteeism you can't forecast. But a lot of design models still assume everyone is experienced, trained, and present every shift.
Traditional design starts with throughput and equipment. Labor shows up at the end as a headcount number. The assumption is that if you staff to the model, the work gets done at rated speeds. There's no friction in that view. But friction is the reality in a volatile labor environment.
And that friction shows up fast. New hires walk into layouts that only make sense if you've been there for months. Pick paths feel confusing. Workstations rely on tribal knowledge. Supervisors spend their day chasing exceptions instead of managing flow.
I saw a building where the simulation looked perfect. On the floor, half the shift was new, the pick path was confusing, and productivity fell apart. None of it showed up in the model, but it showed up in service misses.
That's what we mean by labor-centric warehouse design. You design for real human variability, learning curves, fatigue, and mistakes, so the building absorbs it instead of breaking.
When you do that, the building becomes a stabilizer. It helps people ramp faster, keeps performance more consistent, and gives supervisors a fighting chance on messy days.
So let's get practical. The first lever is cognitive load. That's the mental effort required to figure out what to do next.
If a new picker is constantly deciding where to go, which side to work, or where to stage product, that slows them down and drives errors. In a labor-centric design, you remove those decisions before training even starts.
You do that with clear visual zoning, consistent aisle logic, and standardized workstations. Any pick module should feel familiar, with direction and start and end points immediately obvious.
The second lever is fatigue, a layout that pushes walking distance, reach height, and density to the limit might look efficient on paper, but it quietly burns people out across the shift.
Fatigue is where errors and injuries spike, especially late in the day. You reduce travel, balance zones, manage reach heights, and build recovery points to keep performance steady all shift.
The third lever is training time. Most operations try to manage training with schedules and trainers, instead of designing the building to be learnable.
If your facility takes weeks to understand, you'll struggle every time turnover spikes. A labor-centric building is designed so a new hire can be productive quickly. Process paths are simple. Exceptions are limited. What the worker sees matches what the system expects.
If the screen says go to a location and the physical environment makes that location obvious, you've removed a huge amount of friction.
And flexibility matters at the workstation level. Can stations switch between order profiles without reconfiguration? Can people move between roles without relearning the environment? When that's true, cross-training actually works.
Add all of this up, and you're not just being nice to labor. You're creating a real advantage. In a world where labor availability changes week to week, the winning operations are the ones where the building acts as a buffer.
That's the shift leaders need to make. Stop designing for the perfect worker who never calls out, never makes a mistake, and never gets tired. Design for the real workforce you have.
If your building supports people on their worst days, it'll surprise you on the good ones.
That's all for today. If you're planning a new facility or a redesign, ask yourself one question. Are you designing for labor reality or spreadsheet fantasy?
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Abby.
Thanks for listening to the Supplyist podcast, powered by Ops Design. We'll see you next time.